as of late, it feels like the WWE has kind of been a roller coaster. We've had ups and downs and twists and turns, and after WrestleMania 41, which a lot of people came out of that show feeling like it was kind of disappointing, the next show up on WWE's list is Backlash. And I feel like that this Backlash has a lot of pressure coming into this year's show. Especially when you go back and look at last year's Backlash show, which was a very good show, but a large portion of why it was such a memorable show was the crowd. But taking the crowd out of it, the show itself was still pretty good. So it just does, to me at least, feel like there is a lot of pressure coming into this year's Backlash. And I'm worried that it may kind of end up feeling like this year's WrestleMania was. After having such high expectations set after WrestleMania 40, WrestleMania 41 did not deliver on a lot of the anticipation, at least with a lot of people. And I think the same can kind of be said for Backlash. Because again, last year's Backlash was awesome. And again, a lot of it has to do with the crowd, but there are still high expectations for this show. So today's video, we're going to kind of take a look at everything coming into this year's Backlash. And this isn't necessarily going to be a preview video for the show, but we are going to talk about some of the matches that have been confirmed. And we're not going to do our usual deep dive, we're going to save that for the PLE preview video that will come out before Backlash. But before we get too far ahead in the video, if you are a WWE fan, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, because that's all we post is WWE related content. So if you enjoy those types of videos, consider subscribing. It's free, you can always change your mind later. So out of the confirmed matches so far, probably the most obvious one was Randy Orton and John Cena. And looking at it, it makes a ton of sense. You have one of the most famous and one of the top feuds in WWE history between Randy Orton and John Cena, plus tacking on the fact that it's John Cena's first real feud as a heel with the title. And you tack on the fact that Backlash this year is in St. Louis, which is Randy Orton's hometown. So, I think everything coming into the match sounds pretty good. You have a classic rivalry, you have Randy Orton coming home and having a big match in his hometown again, and we get to see a heel John Cena against a babyface Randy Orton, because we live in such a weird time to be a wrestling fan. And this time John Cena has the title again, but again, he's a heel. So what's it all going to look like? That's what I'm most excited for. Probably isn't going to be a 5-star classic match, but I think the story coming into it is really going to carry this match. The other match that was confirmed was Lyra Valkyria taking on Becky Lynch. Something that I think a lot of people weren't expecting was a Becky Lynch heel turn right after she made her return back to the company. But this is such a big opportunity for Lyra Valkyria, and it's also just a good reminder of the type of performer that Becky Lynch is, because the promo that we got between those two on Monday Night Raw was absolutely incredible. It was by far the best promo that Lyra has cut since she's been on the main roster. And Becky Lynch managed to do it in a way that made Lyra Valkyria look like $1,000. When you take a look at the recent Charlotte Flair-Tiffany Stratton feud, where Charlotte Flair didn't do any of that for Tiffany Stratton. So I'm excited for this match, and I'm excited for this feud, because, again, the story coming into it is already pretty damn good, and given what we got on Monday Night Raw with the promo battle between the two, we might be in for a really, really good feud. The third match that has been confirmed is Gunther taking on Pat McAfee. And I'm all for Pat McAfee being in the WWE. I love him on commentary. I love Pat McAfee in general because he's just such an entertaining guy. And him taking on Gunther after Gunther choking Pat out and attempting to choke out Michael Cole, it is a clear and obvious side quest for Gunther, possibly until we can figure out what the hell to do with him. Maybe he goes on to John Cena after this. Maybe he goes after Jey Uso again. Who knows where Gunther will go from here. But I'm curious to see how this feud is really going to go, because Pat McAfee being on commentary, Gunther currently being suspended, I'm just really curious to see what kind of story they can build between Pat McAfee and Gunther. And that takes care of the 3 matches that have been confirmed for Backlash. And there are other rumors and speculations of other matches that we could be getting. And a lot of those feuds, a lot of those matches, sound and look pretty okay. But is it going to be enough for WWE fans coming off of a somewhat disappointing WrestleMania? Again, I think you have a good foundation started with John Cena, Randy Orton, Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch. Gunther and Pat McAfee, I don't think is necessarily on that foundation yet, but it might be, whatever. We still don't know a whole lot of the story coming into that one. But I think the amount of matches that can be added to this show, I think can really, really help build Backlash into being a memorable show and maybe making it just as good as last year's was. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of work to be done to try to course correct what has happened since WrestleMania, because not only did you have a somewhat disappointing WrestleMania, but then you had The Rock on the Pat McAfee show, and things just got really, really weird for a couple days in the world of WWE. So, am I nervous for Backlash? A little. I think there is some reason to be concerned with this year's Backlash. But we know that WWE can still put on absolutely fantastic shows like we saw with the Raw after WrestleMania. Because that episode of Raw, a lot of people, including myself, felt like it was better than what we got for WrestleMania. Because everything in that episode, it made sense. It all flowed well, nicely. As for WrestleMania, we left that show with a lot more questions than we had answers. And while we did get some major questions from the Raw after WrestleMania episode, we got a ton of answers from that episode as well. So this is where I really want to hear from you guys. Are you guys nervous for this year's Backlash? Let me know why you are, let me know why you're not, and also let me know what you would love to see added to this year's Backlash card. Again, with the 3 matches that have been confirmed, I think that you have 2 that can really start building a good foundation for this year's card. So as always, let me know that stuff down below in the comments, and while you're down there, swing by the description and click the Linktree link. That link will take you to all of the social medias for this channel, and I do suggest going and checking out our X page. Besides YouTube, I am most active over on X. We do updates for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and the PLEs. And above all else, I want the X page to be a place for wrestling fans to go and talk about wrestling, especially if you're like me and you don't have a lot of people to talk to about wrestling. So if you are like me and you're looking for a place to go and talk about wrestling, consider swinging by an upcoming episode of Monday Night Raw, join into the conversation, and maybe it's for you at the end of the day. So, with all that said and done, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Both are free and both help out the channel a lot. And as always, if you have made it to this point of the video, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch these videos here. As always, stay tuned for more wrestling content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.